Eliza was 38, single, and lived in a quiet, blue-painted house at the end of Maple Lane, just outside Portland, Oregon. Her life was simple, not flashy. She worked remotely as a freelance graphic designer, the kind of work where most days blurred together. She didn't crave attention, never had. But there was one thing that made her feel grounded: her backyard garden. Every morning just after sunrise, Eliza would slip on her flannel robe, brew a cup of strong black coffee, and step out into the soft morning light, barefoot. She liked to feel the earth. The soil was always a little cool, even in summer. It reminded her that something real was underneath everything. Her garden wasn't perfect. It didn't follow any plan. Tomatoes leaned too far to the left. Mint kept invading the rosemary bed, and the sunflowers grew wildly in different directions like happy little rebels. But Eliza didn't mind. That chaos had life in it. There was something sacred about her morning routine. Pulling weeds with one hand while sipping coffee with the other, humming softly to herself, brushing her fingers across the lavender, letting the smell linger. It wasn't a hobby. It was therapy. But then, there was Claire. Claire, her next-door neighbor, was in her late 20s, blonde, bubbly, and seemingly born with a Pinterest board in her brain. Her garden looked like it belonged in a magazine ad for Perfect Life, Inc. Everything was clean, curated. Raised beds painted white, ivy-wrapped archways, solar-powered fairy lights, little signs that said things like, "Grateful hearts grow joy." And it got to Eliza. At first, she told herself it didn't matter. But over time, her eyes started wandering. Each time she watered her overgrown basil, her gaze slid to Claire's straight-lined carrot rows. When she harvested lopsided tomatoes, she couldn't help but notice Claire's flawless cherry bunches, hanging like jewels on a string. Slowly, without meaning to, Eliza started resenting her own garden. She stopped planting new seeds that spring, stopped pruning, stopped playing music in the yard. And worst of all, she stopped smiling when she stepped into the soil. Her morning walks in the garden turned into silent inspections. Why don't my flowers look like that? Why does everything here feel so messy? Maybe I'm just not good at this. Comparison had crept in, quiet, slow, and poisonous. One Saturday afternoon, while Eliza was half-heartedly trimming dead lavender stems, she heard a soft knock at her back gate. Claire stood there wearing a flowy sundress, holding a small mason jar. "Hey," Claire said, smiling. "Sorry to bug you. I was wondering, could I borrow a few of your lavender sprigs for tonight? I'm hosting a dinner, and mine didn't really bloom this year." Eliza blinked. "Oh, sure, of course. Go ahead." Claire stepped in and looked around the backyard. She ran her hands gently through a sunflower's leaves and said, almost under her breath, "Wow, your garden always feels so alive." Eliza laughed awkwardly. "It's kind of wild lately. I've been thinking of simplifying it." Claire shook her head. "Don't. This is the kind of garden I wish I had." Eliza raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "Yours is perfect." Claire smiled, but her eyes softened. "Maybe. But sometimes perfect is exhausting. Mine looks good in photos. Yours feels like something real. Yours changes. It surprises you. Mine follows rules. Yours breathes." That night, Eliza didn't turn on the TV. She sat outside with a glass of wine, barefoot in the grass, under a dim porch light. And she thought. She thought about how long she'd been looking over the fence, how much she had ignored the beauty in her own backyard, just because it didn't look like someone else's. And then she smiled, because for the first time in months, she remembered. Her garden wasn't supposed to impress anyone. It was supposed to be hers, messy, beautiful, ever-changing. Heron. The next morning, Eliza woke up early again, just like before. She stepped outside, barefoot, coffee in hand. The mint was still invading. The sunflowers were still dancing wildly toward the sky. And the lavender? It was blooming exactly how it wanted to. She knelt down, placed one hand gently on the soil, closed her eyes, and whispered, "You're doing just fine, and so am I." So friends, your garden isn't meant to look like your neighbor's. Your life isn't supposed to match someone else's version of success. Stop comparing. Start growing on your own.